Hey guys, you'll see I may be working with a different piece of material for this stocking than what you may have seen previously in the start of this video because I lost some footage. And so I'm just going to redo some of it real quick. I did print out some coloring sheets and then cut those out. And I'm pinning them on here because this is very soft fabric. You know, I'm making it out of shirts. So through laundering and everything, it's gotten very soft. So I didn't want to crawl it around too much. It's hard to cut it as it is. And the same reason I did not use a marking pencil and trace it, because I need it to be pinned together pretty well while I'm cutting it. So that's why I did that. So we're going to go ahead and take off these pins. Now, it's very rough cut, as you can see. Just going to lay that over here for a second and pick this up. Okay, so this is a piece of the shirt. You can see the buttonholes in it. And I'm going to be cutting those off and using this little bit right here. So whenever I showed the video, I'm not sure if you've seen it yet, but I show you how I process a shirt. How I cut it apart and what I use and how I use it. And this was one thing I said I haven't figured out a use for it yet, but I'm going to hang on to these. Well, this is one thing I'll be using it for. So I'm going to go ahead and cut right there at the buttonhole. Just so happens that this is going to look really good on that. So, oh, only need 2 for that. Now, it's got a little sewn edge there, so I'm going to use that to my advantage, but it's still folded back here. And again, we're going to use that to our advantage as well. And I did cut this larger than my little pattern because I'm going to be taking probably taking some pretty large seams here because of the way it's crawling around. So one way you could combat it crawling around so bad is to stiffen it with a lightweight or maybe even a medium interfacing, one that irons on. But I'm just going to go ahead and work with it and take my time. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm just going to bring it over and we're just going to do a very basic shape right around the stocking. And I think I will put a few pins in. Okay, so what I learned the first time that I made these, that the video got shot on, was this ended up being too long and I had to come in and kind of curve it here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. I wanted to take a look at it before I just automatically did it. But it looks like if I go maybe just right here, yeah, that should take care of it. And then most likely we will end up cutting some of this off. But okay, we're going to go ahead and do this down here. Okay, and one thing I was going to point out is when you're laying your pattern onto the shirt sleeve or whatever part of it you're using, you may just want to take note at, you know, which direction. Like this was a shirt that this was actually going across the shirt, you know, but I angled it because I wanted it to go at an angle. So that's something to just keep in mind. And now, once we get in there and stuff it and get this ready to go, you'll see that this is going to fit much better. So it'll be something like this, basically. But you can see that's really long, so I'm probably going to be cutting this off. I had to do that on the other one as well. But we're going to go ahead and sew the mitten. I did have trouble with the mitten on the sewing machine because it was so small, and getting around the thumb and everything was a challenge. So I ended up sewing it by hand, but I am going to go ahead and try it on the machine this time just to give you an alternative. Now, sewing this by hand took no time at all. Just a needle and thread, and I made a very basic stitch around and turned it. So let's go ahead and remove this. I also had it cut a little smaller. I didn't allow for seams, so it was small like this. And this time I've cut it a little bit larger. Maybe it'll help, maybe it won't, but we're going to give it a shot. So you can see it's still not perfect, but on a Christmas ornament we're going to be able to compensate for that when we're stuffing it. But it did go much better, giving myself more room to make it. So that's just something you might want to keep in mind. But we'll compare this one with the one that I hand stitched as well. Okay, so I made some little toppers or bands to go at the top of the stocking and at the top of the mitten. But we're right now just ready to do some stuffing. We're going to start with the stocking. Most likely we're going to be cutting some of that off, but we're just grabbing some of this and pushing it right in there. So what we want to do now is I am going to go ahead and cut this off. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is just use some hot glue to close this up. And I'm just going to drop some inside. And I want to tuck in just a little. And then just squeeze it till it sets up. And it doesn't matter what that really looks like because it's getting ready to get a little cap on it. So I've managed to hide all the raw edges up in there. So I'm just going to tuck this in again. And as you're tucking, that stuffing is kind of moving around again too, so it's going to help fill it out at the top. Alright, then once we're at this point and it's on there where I want it, then I'm just going to, I found with the other one it was best to work upside down. And just open that up a little bit, like that. I don't know if you can see that because of my thumb there, but basically I'm pushing in on the stocking, so it's leaving a gap between the stocking and the cuff. And then I'm just going to squeeze a drop of glue in, and then release it. And I did get some glue on the outside, but that is not going to matter. You'll see that in just a moment. You can get it off, that's fine, but this is flannel, so it's going to have a spot there. You might be able to pull it off of the regular cotton, but flannel it's probably not going to come off of. Alright, so now I'm just going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Just want to open that up a little. Drop the glue. Okay, and then let's just hold that till it sets up. Now if you want this strictly to be about your loved one's material, then what I would do is just be more careful with the glue, or even hand stitch it. Do a slip stitch like you were closing up a binding. Otherwise, I'm going to add some ribbon since it is a Christmas ornament, and I'm going to start it back here. And I'm just going to go all the way around, and it's going to be kind of over the seam there, like that. So we'll put a little drop of glue. Before I do that, I also like to put just a little bit of glue here on the other ends. Okay, now put a little drop of glue and just lay your ribbon right into it and let it catch. We're not in a hurry here. And then just lay it back. And then we're just going to come around. And don't pull it, just lay it over. Now I like to go right there at the edge of the ribbon and just kind of smear it across. Whoops. Just kind of smear it across because I don't want the ribbon to start to ravel. And then just lay it down. And now as far as embellishing this, I do have a pick that looks like cedar, a cedar limb. So I've got a couple of little pieces there cut, and I'm going to look for, this is some of the buttons that came off of the shirts. So I'm going to see if I can find a button that I like with this. Okay, so I went with this one. You could really use gray, black, white, blue, you know, there are a variety of shades in this particular one. So we're going to try to camouflage that a little bit. We're just going to put these on, and then we're going to put the button there. And or you could go straight across it. That may be better. So I'm just going to run a little bit of glue. It's not going to take a whole lot. And we're just going to lay it like that. Just a little bit more glue. So what I'm going to do is use a gold thread and just thread it through a needle, and go right through the corner of the stocking to make a little loop so that you have a hanger. Okay, so we've got that one embellished. We're just going to lay it aside and grab our mitten. We'll go ahead and get this stuffed. So now we're going to put some glue in here and just close up our little mitten. Then we're doing the same thing. We're just going right up inside there. Now this is going to be a single mitten, but of course you could make two and then connect them with a little string, the same color as the ribbon you use, for example. So that's what this one's going to look like, and of course we're going to add the ribbon as well. But I want to go in. But I want to go in and drop some glue in. And then we'll go to the opposite side. And do the same thing. I know it's hard for you to see what I'm doing. Basically, I am pinching it and pulling this out so I can drop the glue down inside. When you release it, the pressure from the stuffing is going to push it right up against it. Then I want to come over here to the end and just drop a little bit right in there. So it doesn't have to go all the way around, because we're also going to be adding the ribbon that's also going to be giving it some stability. Then you decide which is your front and back. Now this one's almost solid on this side, so I think that's my back. We're going to come back to the front. We grab some more of the greenery, and I'm going to grab a button. I think this time we're going to go with a little darker. And then let's just kind of audition where we want this to go on the mitten. I think that needs to be trimmed down just a little bit. And I'm thinking something like that. Alright, and again we'll be using a gold thread to just put a little loop there for a hanger. So if you don't mind sewing, this is an option for you. Now you could actually, if you did want this stuff to look but you still don't want to sew, you could just use glue. Use your glue to, just like you would make a seam, but you're going to run glue instead. So don't be too intimidated. You know, if you can't do the sewing and you don't want the flat wooden ones, then you can always still get that stuffed puffy look if you just use glue to make your seams with. Alright, so I will see you back soon with another video on other things that you can do without having to make something as large as a quilt or a pillow or something like that, you know, to have something from your loved ones. There we have our little mitten embellished, and I'm going to do the same as I did with the stocking, and I will just stitch a gold thread through that to make a loop for a hanger. Hey guys, so I got my bag of ornaments that I'd made using the shirts on the wood, And I'm just going to add my 2 ornaments we did today. Just going to add those to the bag. And we still have a couple more videos that I'm going to be using the shirts to make memory ornaments, or memory items, I should say. So I'll see you back later for that as we continue. It's kind of like little series, I guess, to keep the videos short. I'm splitting them up instead of one long video. So I will see you back here again. You guys have a great week.